Russia's weather service has confirmed there were extremely high concentrations of radioactivity in several parts of the country in late September. A French nuclear safety group had previously reported a cloud containing the radioisotope Ruthenium-106 drifting over Europe in October. European authorities said the cloud had likely originated in the southeastern Urals region of Russia or Kazakhstan. Russian authorities did not point to any specific source of the pollution. They said the highest concentration was registered in Argayash, about 30 kilometers from the Mayak nuclear facility. In 1957, Mayak was the site of one of the worst nuclear accidents in history. The French report ruled out a nuclear reactor accident as the source of the Ru-106. It said the concentrations measured in Europe were not a danger to public health.
This is the story of many, many secrets, and the damage that secrets can do. After World War II ended, the Soviet Union wanted the bomb, and they wanted it fast. They built so-called secret cities across the region, hidden from view and omitted from maps, to jumpstart the Soviet nuclear industry. One of these cities was Tcheliabinsk 40, home to the Mayak plutonium production facility. The very first Soviet nuke was developed here in the late 40s, and for the residents of the city, secrecy was a way of life. Here's Nadezhda Kotyepova, a Russian woman who grew up in Tcheliabinsk 40.
Of course, I saw in my childhood that we are unusual because there were check-in system and there were soldiers around our city. My parents told me that our city is secret, but I was not interested to know why we are secret.
The Soviet Union was obsessed with keeping the secrets of the Mayak plant, even when secrecy started to cost lives. These photos were taken by a documentary crew just a few years ago, in the area around the Mayak site. Starting in 1949, this area played host to one of the most sustained nuclear disasters in history. From 1949 to 1956, workers at the Mayak facility discharged radioactive waste into the nearby Techa River, poisoning the local environment and sickening nearby villagers. Then, in 1957, some nuclear waste buried underneath the site exploded, sending a radioactive cloud drifting across 20,000 square kilometers. With its priority on secrecy, the government's damage control was haphazard at best. More than 10,000 civilians were evacuated from the area, but in some cases the process took as long as 10 years. Meanwhile, leukemia rates in the area doubled. Stomach cancer there became twice as common as in Hiroshima. And according to Alessandro Tizet, a filmmaker on that documentary crew, communities in the region are still suffering today.
We found that many who were children at the time of the incidents did not survive more than 40 years, and that their children have birth malformations and diseases, especially in the heart.
All in all, the accidents at Mayak may have contaminated 500,000 people. It wasn't until 1989, almost 30 years later, that Russia admitted to the accidents at Mayak. Interestingly, the CIA knew about the 1957 explosion soon after it happened, but they also kept a tight lid on what they found. In fact, America's intel on Mayak was wrapped up in some pretty high-stakes spycraft. The famous U-2 pilot Francis Gary Powers was shot down while surveilling the disaster site.
That was the only way we could find out, get any information on about a closed society.
So why would the CIA help hide the Mayak incident? Why not embarrass the USSR with their own catastrophe? Well, it's hard to know, but some have suggested that the CIA didn't want to stoke fears in America's own nuclear industry. We would have our own growth and our own disasters to deal with in the years to come. The Russian government is more forthright about its history these days, but only to a point. Consider Nadezhda Kotyepova, the woman who grew up in the closed city of Tcheliabinsk 40. She's since become an advocate for the victims of the Mayak disasters, and she helped that documentary crew shoot their film in 2013. And she suffered for her involvement. Here's filmmaker Michaela Markolin.
About 1 year after her visit, a twist in legislation offered the local authorities the opportunity to present her as a sort of spy and to suggest the possibility of an arrest for treason. for her ties with foreign countries as leader of an NGO, and her relation with a military nuclear compound.
Natashka fled to Paris to escape a government obsessed with keeping its secrets for a little longer still. There's still much we don't know about the Mayak disasters, and much of what we do know comes from the careful, partial release of secrets held for years. Which means that finding the whole truth still demands going to where you're not welcome and staring those truths in the face.